Welcome to Stardust Stereo. I'm Parker McPhinney. I'm your host. Today is the 21st of August, year 2025. Today's episode is about the new moon in Virgo at 0 degrees and 23 minutes arc, which occurs on the 22nd, tomorrow, at 11:06 p.m. Virgo is known to be a perfectionist. This new moon is all about how perfection will strike in every area dealing with civil servants, the army, where we do seva. And when I say it will strike, what I mean is if the conditions are not appropriate in these areas, if they're lacking in all service workers, you are going to see strikes. This is not about reaching an ideal. This is about the need for certain institutions or professions to realize what's not working, how to improve. Virgo can be nitpicky, and I do mean a nag, but it does so not to irritate you, but to point out what will make things run smoother. It is a strong sign that deals with discernment and also deals with critical thinking, very logical, very practical, no nonsense, and order. A person with a strong emphasis of Virgo in their chart, not being compromised by other aspects, craves a sense of structure, order, practicality. And that's what they bring to everyone who is within an earshot. Family, friends, professors. The Virgo in the classroom will raise their hand to throw a question to the professor that might question the validity of what that professor just said. So not everybody likes Virgo, but that inquisitive mind, because they like Virgo, but they don't like not being right. Unless the ego is pliable, they get bent out of shape if they discover that they've been incorrect. I'm talking about the masses. We only lessen that characteristic when we've done a lot of inner work and we accept that we wouldn't be here on earth if we knew everything. And we do need other perspectives to help make situations better. That's why Virgo is a gift to humanity. We've just come from, the Leo new moon, which is all about leadership. With the Virgo new moon, it's still about leadership, but it's about perfecting it up at the top or making a better choice. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So we look in this new moon chart to see where's Mercury. Mercury is at 12 degrees Leo. And that Mercury says, hey, are you paying attention to the children? And by the way, the reason it says that and asks that question is because I'm using the natural wheel where we put Aries on the 9 o'clock position. So the 12 houses follow the order of Aries starts on the 1st, Taurus 2nd, etc. So that Mercury in Leo falls in the 5th house. That's the house of children. And of course, some of the specific children we are thinking about, those of us that think about these things, are the children that live in Gaza, the children that live in Ukraine, the children that live all over the world who are suffering from war and starvation and depravity because leadership does not see them as human beings. This has got to end. And it will at one point. But it will require a leadership that has an open heart and cares about humanity more than it cares about profit, more than it cares about being right, more than it cares about its own political perspective, where the number one goal is peace. When the number one goal is peace, when that's the intention, we will have it. Virgo is also the Red Cross nurse, the service worker that we rely on, the professional, in our day in, day out life. It compartmentalizes things. Virgo energy is that energy that helps us to clean up and organize and make shiny and polished anything that we desire. And the key word is the desire. The desire to do this has to first be planted in the heart. That's why I say peace will happen when the parties involved that make these decisions, the world leaders, that's the number one priority and nothing else matters. And unfortunately, our evolution in the world has not reached that yet. This new moon in Virgo also deals with contracts. Now, it is in a square to Uranus. Uranus is at 1 degree of Gemini. So within a couple of days of this new moon, early next week, that's when we might possibly see and hear the disgruntledness of contract workers in transportation that are ready to strike. Or if they work in the healthcare industry. It is also when air, as in hurricane or earthquake, can disrupt normal operations of transportation. We're still not out of our earthquake window. And when Uranus returns to Taurus, which it will do on November 9th, we will begin again to see that shake, rattle, and roll energy. And there's actually a couple dates in September that do indicate a big movement. I think it has more to do with fires. It's when Mars will square Jupiter, and it's coming up very shortly. Now, Mars is in Libra in this new moon chart, and it is at the degree of the solar eclipse that occurred October 2nd, 2024. So it is doing what we call triggering the eclipse. I have spoken about an eclipse being triggered in the last podcast. I spoke about when Mars was at the 29 degrees of Virgo, it was triggering an upcoming eclipse. So upcoming eclipses can be triggered and past eclipses can be triggered. And certainly this October 2024 eclipse was not very long ago. So one of the signatures in this new moon chart tells me that compromises are possible, details matter in contractual agreements. This would include marriage. We will possibly see with this new moon, or you could possibly see with this new moon in your personal life, issues that have come up that were on the table last October, and a reworking them out, and a deciding if we're going to go forward or it's time to dissolve our collaboration. We also know that with this Virgo New Moon, that unemployment will start to be discussed more openly. It's possible that some companies will come to the table with solutions that allow for their workforce to not be cut so much by the leadership taking a cut. I know, as far out there that sounds, but if a company is about to dissolve, but they see if they make fundamental changes in the leadership and then just slight cutting of the workers and they're able to survive, it's always what is going to keep the entity alive. Looking at it from a holistic perspective, this new moon has a yod. The yod is the finger of fate. It's also called the finger of God. It is dealing with the planet Saturn, the planet Pluto, which are in a lovely relationship with each other, which indicates restructuring of the power within Congress, within an institution, within the workforce. And it is involving, to complete the yod, the sun in Virgo. So it is all about leadership and how leadership is willing to sacrifice and make compromises in order to save the company. What is needed, what effort is needed in order to stabilize the situation. Now we can also apply this to the world stage. Basically, when the team comes together to transform and via service and individuals working to become more effective as they lock fingers and hands in order to bring a healing. This is especially true where the issue of food, housing, and certain emotional nurturing is taking place, because Jupiter and Venus are both in Cancer in this new moon chart. It requires to respond in a mature way to the crisis at hand. Public health is going to be in the front lines. It already is, and it's regarding pets and a tick that causes a disease. Whenever we have a new moon in Virgo, public health is highlighted. So that's another area where solutions will be sought to lessen the deaths of pets. The Sun and Mercury are in what's called mutual reception in this chart, and so that means the brains are there. The conversation can be there. As long as there is flexibility in listening and hearing, solutions can be found. The only thing that is required in this recipe is a united direction, a united path. Just like any marriage, if you are united in the path that you're taking, you're going to have success. The globe situation is the same. If we are united in a path, we will have success. The yod energy is like a workhorse. You have to go into that garage, pull out your tools, have maturity, have discipline, and not give up until you finish your project, finish the agreement, come to a conclusion. It's always dealing with adjustments, and nobody is ever completely happy. This is not a win-win situation when you're dealing with yods. It's about learning the way to compromise where a situation is made better than it currently is. Some people will be very unhappy. Other people will just be, thank God I still have a job. And there's a third kind of person out there, the complainer, that never sees the icing, even when it's the thickest on the cake. Can't do anything about those people. They're stuck in the rut of everything is wrong. In the Sabian symbols, this degree of the new moon is in a portrait. The best of a man's traits are idealized. Also, another consideration is the fixed star Regulus, where it currently is in longitude, is at 0 degrees and 10 minutes arc Virgo. So it's right by that new moon. And that means that leaders have the opportunity to rise to a place of prominence because of their humanitarian views. I'm not saying everybody is going to do this. I'm saying that is the potential. It's much more likely if it's a female. That's not a sexist statement. It's just that women give birth, and that gives them a natural inclination to nurture and step up to plate to think of the children, especially in these war situations. And let's face it, it's a fact. Most women are less prone to go to war unless, of course, they feel threatened. It's just a natural way of how men and women are different, and I'm not even going to touch that third party. You know, born women, born men have innate tendencies that they act out instinctively. And you see it in animals, you see it in humans, and this particular characteristic of being more prone to nurturing with practicality is what's needed right now. For countries, this new moon, Israel, it occurs in their 12th house, and transiting Mars is conjunct their Neptune. So if they're lying, it's going to come out. If they're presenting a different reality in the press that's on the ground, it will be found out. In America's chart, the new moon falls in the 11th house, and that rules Congress and groups. It is sextile USA's Venus wide by 2 degrees, but it's there. That indicates to me that the female energy in this country can make a difference. So, ladies, write the letters to your representatives. If you're unhappy with anything, get active. This reminds me, when Shock and Awe came out, Code Pink came to Pelosi's house to speak to her. She refused to meet them. Code Pink, you can Google them. It's a very active association to bring peace. I hail the people that started Code Pink and are involved, the men and women. They're doing great work. For Palestine, this new moon falls in their 11th house as well. I saw this a lot in world charts, the 11th house activated. The Yod falls in their 11th, 6th, and 4th, dealing with the crisis of the situation on hand. We need to get people in there that can report what's actually happening. Egypt is likely to step up to plate to help them. One other thing I saw with Israel, the Mercury in this new moon chart is conjunct their Pluto in the 10th house. So there's going to be questions to their leadership. There's going to be a lot of shifts up at the top. Arizona is going to be in the news, dealing with housing. It could be connected to possible fires. And Australia is still going to continue to scream loud and clear about their displeasure of this war that's happening in Gaza, because the new moon falls in their 5th house, and that's the house of children. So the people identify with what's actually happening to the children. And they identify enough to get out in the streets and yell about it. What I'd like to leave you with is this new moon is about strikes, all kinds. And what you can do is you can strike within yourself the ways that you can improve but not become a nag. Look at situations that you would like to be different, but also look at them to see what's right, what is working, and sandwich in your thoughts that, so that there is equanimity between what the situation is and what it could be, and also having a pliable, I love that word pliable, attitude, because this particular new moon is an immutable sign, and that means one must be flexible. So flexibility is your best friend. I'm Parker McPhinney. This is Stardust Stereo. Thank you for listening. I'd like to thank my patrons. You know who you are. If you'd like to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/ParkerMcP. And I want to remind you, you are made of stardust. So go shine.